Welcome to the deep dive. This week, we're really excited to share some insights curated by the Pythonist programmer. She's a software engineering consultant, and she's picked out some fascinating sources for us.
Yeah, it's a great selection. We're going to be jumping around a bit from AI and work to well-being, digital security, even brand strategy.
Exactly. Think of it as a shortcut to getting up to speed on things that are really shaping our world right now. Technology, society, even our own sort of inner workings.
Right. It's about finding those connections, those, aha moments that help make sense of it all. We're aiming to give you that well-rounded view without you having to wade through everything yourself.
Absolutely. So we'll be looking at how we manage information overload, how our own neurobiology affects work, the changing world of online identity and security, and yeah, even what's going on behind the scenes with big business and personal brands.
It sounds like a lot, but you'll see how it all kind of links together. It's pretty interconnected stuff.
Okay, so let's dive right in. One of the biggest shifts, maybe the biggest, is how AI is changing work, especially for software developers. There's this source, "You're all CTO now," which, wow, it really makes you think.
It does. The core idea isn't just, AI helping write code faster. It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
It suggests the developer role itself is changing fundamentally.
How so? What's the main shift it's pointing to?
Well, it argues developers are moving away from being hands-on coders, primarily, towards becoming more like managers or orchestrators of AI agents that do the coding. So you're operating at a higher level, more strategically.
Okay, directing the work rather than just doing it. And I guess the initial appeal is obvious, more output, automating the boring stuff, the drudgery.
Exactly. That's the promise. Increased productivity, less grunt work. Sounds great on paper, right?
And this is where it got really interesting for me. The article talks about downsides, this idea of the manager's unbearable lack of endorphins, a reduction in dopamine satisfaction. What's going on there?
Yeah, that's the fascinating psychological angle. It touches on something really human. The deep satisfaction we get from struggling with a hard problem and solving it ourselves, that feeling of accomplishment.
So if the AI handles the struggle,
Then you risk losing that satisfaction, that dopamine hit. The problem solving becomes more about crafting the right prompt, which might not provide the same neurological reward. And there's a real concern about skill atrophy, too. If you're not wrestling with the code directly, do your core skills diminish?
that leads to this almost sci-fi, but maybe very real idea of the parajumper role. Experienced humans dropping into complex AI-generated code bases to fix emergencies.
Right. It sounds dramatic, but think about it. Fixing code you didn't write, especially AI-generated code, which can be quite opaque, could be incredibly stressful and actually harder than building it from scratch.
Which makes you wonder who's going to be attracted to this kind of work in the future? And how does it impact people, say, with ADHD, who often find intense focus and flow in that deep hands-on coding?
That's a huge question. If the nature of the work changes so drastically, it might fundamentally alter who thrives in the industry and who even wants to be in it. The whole dynamic could shift.
Okay, so if AI is changing the work and potentially our brain chemistry around it, how do we actually use these powerful tools effectively in our daily knowledge work? There's another source, Bridge the AI Implementation Gap, Build Your Second Brain in 4 weeks, that offers a practical approach. It talks about this implementation gap.
Yeah, basically we have these amazing AI tools, but many of us, well, we struggle to actually integrate them into our workflows in a way that sticks. It's one thing to have the tool, another to use it effectively day to day.
And the core problem it's trying to solve is information chaos.
Pretty much. The
Yep.
source mentions that knowledge workers waste something like 1.8 hours a day just looking for information they need, which is staggering.
Wow.
And ironically, some current AI tools can actually make it worse. They have context amnesia. You start every chat first, right? And then there's the hallucination roulette.
Hallucination roulette, that sounds
Right.
risky.
It is. It means the AI, the LLM, can just invent information. The source points out that in legal contexts, this happened in like 17% to 33% of responses in some studies. So you absolutely need checks and balances.
Okay, so the AI second brain idea is meant to be the solution here. How does that work?
The idea is you combine your stuff, your notes, documents, your knowledge with the AI's processing power. You feed it your context. So the AI starts to remember your work, your projects, your goals. It becomes a partner that actually understands what you're trying to do.
Right, making it actually useful beyond just generic answers. The source mentions a few tools for this: Notion, Obsidian, Mem.
Yeah, it gives those three as examples. Notion plus its AI features is great for collaboration, very flexible. Obsidian with AI plugins is more for people who prioritize privacy and want local text files. It's a real power tool. And Mem is designed for minimal organization. You just dump info in, and the AI connects it.
And the key takeaway isn't necessarily which tool.
Well, the source says the tool matters less than you think, but, and this is crucial, picking the one that fits your style is super important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll just abandon it, right? Find the one that clicks for you.
There was also that really useful sidebar about ADHD. How does this concept fit with ADHD brains?
Oh, yeah, that was insightful. It described ADHD brains as connection-making machines. A good second brain system shouldn't fight that. It should lean into it. It helps externalize executive functions, organizing, remembering, planning, which can be, a massive help.
Makes sense. And it lays out a 4-week plan.
Yeah, just a simple structure, set up, build the habit of capturing info, add the AI layer, then optimize. It's about building momentum.
Yeah.
And it also flags 5 pitfalls, things like perfectionism, try to do everything at once, getting obsessed with the tool itself.
All the classic ways we sabotage new habits.
Exactly. And it gives fixes for them.
Yeah.
The bottom line message is powerful.
Yeah.
Consistency beats intensity every single time. Just doing a little bit regularly is way better than a huge effort that fizzles out.
That focus on consistency and managing our internal state leads us nicely into the next set of insights, which are really personal. These are from Lindsay Macrith's articles, starting with 7 reasons neurodivergent adults overwork or avoid work entirely. This one reframes work issues as survival strategies.
Yes, and that's a really compassionate lens. It looks at patterns often seen in, say, highly masked, gifted adults or people diagnosed later in life with autism or ADHD. Overworking or completely avoiding work isn't just about productivity. It's often a way to cope with deeper underlying challenges.
What kind of challenges? What are these 7 realities people might be avoiding?
Well, the article lists things like emotional vulnerability, the fear of feeling difficult emotions. Sensory overload is a big one. The sheer fatigue from social interaction and masking. Even, big existential questions about identity or a deep-seated fear of failure. The overwork or avoidance becomes a shield.
But as the article points out, avoiding these things doesn't make them go away. It can actually make anxiety or burnout worse in the long run.
Precisely. It's a short-term fix with potential long-term costs. The article suggests small, proactive steps like practicing micro moments of emotional awareness, just checking in with yourself briefly or consciously creating sensory-friendly workspaces to reduce that overload. Small adjustments can make a big difference.
This connects directly to the next piece, emotions on demand. That's ableism, not reality, especially for autistic adults. This really challenges the idea that everyone processes emotions immediately. It talks about autistic people often processing after the fact.
Yeah, and this is so important. It's not that they don't feel or don't care. It's often due to neurological factors. Things like alexithymia, which is difficulty identifying your own emotions, or being overloaded sensorially, or just the sheer effort of masking can mean the emotional processing happens later.
So someone might seem okay during a stressful event, but the emotional reaction comes hours or days later, like the examples of crying after an argument has finished or falling apart days after a breakup.
Exactly. The intellectual processing might happen first, and the emotional wave follows later. The absolute key message here is delayed emotion is no less sincere. It's just a different internal timetable.
That must have huge implications for relationships. How does the source suggest navigating this?
Communication is paramount. Being open about your own processing timeline, if this applies to you. Setting boundaries like saying, I need some time to process this, can we talk later? Maybe using writing to express feelings once they've surfaced. Asking for patience. Normalizing revisiting conversations. It's about educating others and advocating for your needs.
So taking both these articles together, the message seems to be about understanding and accepting different internal experiences, whether neurodivergent or not.
Absolutely. It boils down to that powerful statement, your timing is not a flaw, it's just yours. And that idea, there is no emotional deadline, no prize for processing quickly. It's a call for empathy, for ourselves and for others.
Okay, shifting from our internal worlds to the external digital world. We talk about AI changing work, but it also introduces new security risks. This source, Supabase MCP, can leak your entire SQL database general analysis, is a pretty stark example. What was the core issue there?
The fundamental problem is something inherent to many large language models right now. They're not great at telling the difference between instructions they should follow and data they should just process, especially data coming from users.
So how does that lead to leaking a whole database? That sounds bad.
It's definitely bad. The scenario described involves an AI assistant, maybe in an IDE or support tool, that has high-level privileges, a service role that bypasses normal security checks like row-level security.
Yeah.
If that assistant gets untrusted user input,
Like a support ticket message or something.
exactly. If an attacker crafts a message that looks like data but actually contains hidden instructions, the AI might just execute those instructions because it has the permissions and doesn't recognize the input as malicious.
Wow. So the attacker basically tricks the AI into running commands.
Precisely. They submit a carefully crafted message, maybe through a normal support channel. The privileged AI assistant reads it, thinks, instructions, extracts sensitive data like API keys or tokens, and could potentially even leak that data into a public place, like the support thread itself. It's a prompt injection attack with potentially catastrophic consequences.
Okay, that's genuinely scary. What are the defenses? What does the source recommend?
Two main things. First, if the AI assistant doesn't need to write or modify data, run it in read-only mode. Simple limitation of privilege. Second, implement a prompt injection filter. This means scanning the input before it gets to the AI, looking for suspicious patterns or known attack techniques. Essential guardrails.
It really highlights how security needs to evolve alongside AI capabilities, which brings us to broader questions about our online lives. This piece, We're All Tired of Performing Intimacy for Strangers on the Internet, tackles the whole authenticity thing online.
Oh, this one cuts deep, doesn't it? It talks about the surveillance economy of relatability, the idea that when you share your authentic self online, you're not just connecting, you're also training algorithms to understand and replicate human emotion and connection.
So our realness becomes data, and we end up competing with AI-generated authenticity.
That's the argument. It leads to this state of hyper-reality, an authenticity industrial complex, where being real becomes a performance, something calculated. Because genuine authenticity is now competing with perfectly optimized AI-driven versions of it. It's exhausting.
The article is also pretty critical of community building, calling it audience farming. Ouch.
Yeah, it argues that often the value flows one way from the audience to the creator or platform. It contrasts this traditional growth model, focused on reach, numbers, conversion, with a relational growth model.
And the relational model is different how?
It's about deepening existing relationships, focusing on genuine service, and growing through values alignment and word of mouth, rather than just chasing scale. It also distinguishes intimacy, which requires really knowing someone, from proximity, which just requires access, like following someone online gives you proximity, but not necessarily intimacy.
That connects to this idea of values in action, when what you do aligns with what you say you believe.
Exactly. When your business practices or your online behavior actually reflect your stated values, you start attracting people who genuinely resonate with those values. The source calls it the energy economics of resonance. It can actually reduce your marketing effort because you're connecting with people on a deeper level.
And interestingly, it links this to boundary setting as business strategy. How do boundaries fit in?
It suggests that having clear boundaries about what you share, who you engage with, what your work is about, doesn't push people away. It actually attracts the right people. It builds trust and makes your brand or presence more sustainable because you're not trying to be everything to everyone.
So the takeaway isn't to get better at performing authenticity.
No, quite the opposite. The conclusion is pretty powerful. The future of personal branding isn't about becoming more strategic. It's about becoming more yourself, which feels like a breath of fresh air, honestly.
It really does. Okay, let's shift focus again to innovation in really tangible sectors. Healthcare, for instance. This piece, Moms are the chief medical officers of their family. This scientist wants to change that, is about some amazing work.
Yeah, this features Estelle Giraud and her company, Trellis Health. And her mission is really compelling, trying to fix what she sees as a broken U.S. healthcare system for women, especially during pregnancy and postpartum, by empowering them with their own data.
She highlights this reality where women often become the family's chief medical officer, right? Managing everyone's health, but with very little support themselves, dealing with super short doctor visits.
Exactly. Like 7.5 to 8 minutes per appointment on average. It's barely enough time to say hello, let alone have a meaningful discussion about your health, especially when you're navigating something as complex as pregnancy or postpartum recovery.
So what's Trellis Health doing differently? How are they using data?
Their approach is really smart. They use APIs to connect potentially decades of a woman's medical records from thousands of providers. This creates a longitudinal health record, a personal baseline. So when new data comes in, like from their at-home postpartum lab panel, which checks over 30 biomarkers, it's compared against her history, not just generic population averages.
Ah, so it's truly personalized context. That makes a huge difference.
A massive difference. Plus, they offer things like midwife in your pocket, text-based support from actual humans. The insight driving it is that a single piece of data can be life-changing, but only if it's understood within your unique context.
And I notice they're very clear about privacy. It's a paid service, no ads, data isn't sold. That builds trust. She also mentioned fundraising challenges.
Yeah, being pigeonholed is just a pregnancy app, underestimating the scope of what they're doing. And she made a great point about how telling women founders it's hard can be subtly undermining. Her vision is huge, building the healthiest generation ever by putting healthcare back on women's terms. Really inspiring stuff.
Definitely. Okay, one last shift to the world of big business strategy. Choco giant Ferrero to buy Kellogg's for $3 pieces. A huge deal. What's the story behind this?
Well, it's Ferrero, known for Nutella, Ferrero Rocher, that kind of thing, buying parts of Kellogg's, specifically their cereal business. And yeah, $3.1 billion a lot, especially since the price was apparently a 40% premium over Kellogg's recent share price.
So why pay such premium? What's Ferrero's angle?
Diversification seems key. Ferrero's portfolio is very heavy on chocolate and snacks. With cocoa prices going through the roof lately, making chocolate supplies uncertain and expensive, moving into cereals gives them a foothold in a different part of the U.S. food market. It hedges their bets, basically.
Even though Kellogg's has been struggling a bit since they split the company and people are maybe moving away from traditional cereals.
Right. It might seem like a crunchy time to get into the cereal biz, as the source puts it. Consumers are shifting towards healthier options or cheaper store brands. But for Ferrero, it's about market access, brand recognition, and diversifying away from the volatility of cocoa. It's a long-term strategic play to strengthen their position in the massive U.S. market.
It just shows how these huge corporate moves are often driven by complex factors beyond just the immediate product category. Hedging risks, market control.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from AI completely reshaping jobs and maybe even our brain chemistry.
To understanding neurodiversity and emotional processing on a much deeper level.
Then jumping into digital security vulnerabilities, the pressures of online authenticity, real-world healthcare innovation.
And finishing with billion-dollar corporate strategy, it really shows how interconnected everything is: tech, psychology, business, health. It really does. And the ability to see those connections, to synthesize information from different areas, feels more important than ever, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Whether you're thinking about how AI impacts your work or how you communicate your needs or how you navigate the online world, or even just understanding the big forces shaping the market, connecting those dots is key.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you, our listeners, with something to think about. A kind of provocative question, maybe. How will you adapt your own operating system, personally, professionally, to thrive in this world where everything seems to be constantly shifting and influencing everything else? Our inner lives, our work, the digital spaces we inhabit.
Yeah, think about what really stood out for you today. Was it something about AI and job satisfaction? Maybe the discussion around emotional timelines or neurodiversity resonated. Or perhaps the ideas about digital branding or even the healthcare innovations sparked something. Consider that one insight. What's one small way you could apply that knowledge or perspective in your own life, maybe starting this week? How can you use these connections we've explored to navigate things a little differently? Episode sources. AI reality check. You're all CTO now, human at the center. Moms are the chief medical officers of their family. This scientist wants to change that. Neurocomplexity and burnout. 7 reasons neurodivergent adults overwork or avoid work entirely. Emotions on demand, that's ableism, not reality, especially for autistic adults. Emerging tech, real impact. Bridge the AI implementation gap. Build your second brain in 4 weeks. Bridge the AI implementation gap. Digital safety and ethics. Bridge the AI implementation gap. Supabase MCP can leak your entire SQL database general analysis. Bridge the AI implementation gap. Brand stewardship and visibility. Bridge the AI implementation gap. Choco Giant Ferrero to buy Kellogg's for $3.01. Bridge the AI implementation gap. We're all tired of performing intimacy for strangers on the internet. Bridge the AI implementation gap. Global tech politics. Bridge the AI implementation gap. No sources assigned to this category in this episode.